In this video, we're going to be talking about the multitude of ways to earn passive income in the POWERCITY ecosystem. And I'm also joined by two of the founders. So with no further ado, let me bring these guys up and get the party started. Good to see you guys.
Evening.
Thanks for joining us. Good to see you, Jesse. Thanks for joining us, LV. This is the first time we've had you on stream in a while, but you've been behind the scenes working very hard. And obviously, Earn is 3 weeks old today. Running nice and smooth. What are your take on it? What's your take on it so far?
It's been exciting just to see the community embrace it. You know, in the course of 3 weeks, we have almost 800 billion pulsex locked up in the protocol, which is pretty amazing, right? You know, now pulsex price has been up and down, but right now the TVL is around $37 million. You know, with about 11 million PXDC in supply. 774 vaults. So, you know, we actually were up to in the high, like almost 850 or so vaults, I think, at the top. So, you know, it's wonderful to see folks looking for ways to put their pulsex to use. You know, for those who are putting their earned tokens, if you have earned tokens to use in the staking pool, hopefully you're very happy with, you know, how the fees collected from lending and redemptions are working out. You know, we've even seen some people, you know, liquidated, you know, which is normally an unfortunate thing. But I think we actually saw very early on someone take advantage of that when the market was really moving to their benefit, and actually had a nice graceful exit out of the system, which is a great example of creative ways you can use the system other than just, you know, taking a loan and, you know, spreading your coins across a bunch of memes or something, right?
To add to your point too, people may ask, why are there maybe less vaults than at the beginning? Not a whole lot less, but some less vaults than at the beginning. And there's less stable coins than when you first launched. And what people need to understand is because this thing is backed by the collateral being pulsex, as pulsex becomes more valuable, you'll naturally see people mint more PXDC off of that increasing value pulsex. And as pulsex decreases in value, you'll see loans get paid back, whether that's through people paying back their own loans or through some liquidations or through some redemptions. So the supply decreases as the pulsex goes down in value. The stablecoin quantity should float right alongside with the increase and decrease in value.
Yeah.
Also, we talk about people using their PXDC. Obviously, they take a loan and then they can do a multitude of things with it, right? They could put it in the staking pool. They could put it in the stability pool. They can farm earn tokens, then put those in the staking pool. But obviously, some people aren't as wise as others, and that can play out in other ways, can't it? We've seen that.
I've seen that. So in the Telegram room the other day, somebody came in there and they said, oh, I was redeemed against, I lost all this pulsex. And my first question was, okay, it's not the end of the world. You should still have your PXDC. The markets haven't moved very much. Go ahead and buy your pulsex back. You should be right about where you started, or maybe even a little up. He said, oh, I don't have my PXDC. And I was like, well, what did you do with it? He said, well, I bought a meme coin and it went to zero. Okay, well, unfortunately, if you take a loan from a bank and you go spend it on something unwise, the bank is still going to want their money back. If you go to a pawn shop and you put up your high dollar item like a guitar or something, and they give you a loan, and you go spend it on drugs, you can't go back to the pawn shop and say, well, I want my thing back now. I want my guitar back. They're going to say, well, bring the money. Where's the money? Oh, I spent it on drugs. Can I still get my guitar back? It doesn't work that way. So there may be wiser ways to use stable coins. You can certainly speculate and you can buy things that you want to, but there are safe ways to liquidity provide with stable coins, stability provide with stable coins, or just hold because you just want the exposure at that moment to stable coins. You think maybe pulsex will drop and you can use that stop loss or something, right? There's other things you can do. But if you spend your loan and what you spend it on goes to zero, that is 100% your fault. It is not a fault of the protocol.
And I'm sure we'll touch on some of those ways today, but for anyone who hasn't caught the last 3 weeks of streams, we go into detail about liquidity providing, stability providing, farming earn tokens, also putting stable coins in the PUHX Oracle pool as well. So there's a multitude of ways to earn DeFi yield and make money by staying safe, rather than trying to put, on a hope and a prayer that this next meme coin is going to make you, rich.
Well, and remember, we're not telling you what to do, right? I mean, it's your money, it's your tokens, it's your loan. You do what you want with it, and if you want to go speculate, that's all fine, right? But also understand any kind of risk that you might be taking when you're putting, that loan to use elsewhere, right? Do you have an exit plan? Do you have a plan to be able to unwind if the market were to take a turn, or you were to be redeemed against if you're, not looking, if you're concerned about that, right? So it's really important to understand what is your risk tolerance, your appetite, and really manage towards that, because, this is a very powerful system. Lending is extremely powerful, and you can basically double your assets to go do two things at once, in a sense. You're gaining the appreciation or the hopeful appreciation of PulseX. You're using the value of that to go do something else and earn yield or speculate or do whatever that you're trying to do, right? So it's extremely powerful. Just always have that exit plan, and always have, ahead before you need it, right? A plan on how do you get yourself out of either a low collateralization ratio, right? Or any scenario where you're worried about losing your assets, right? So just be careful. And then just always remember, Jesse's been telling us for like 3 or 4 weeks now, right? One, liquidations aren't always evil, because you have your stable coin. You're not like to zero. You actually lost half, right? You doubled everything and then you lost half. So it's important to understand the perspective of that. And then the other part is, like, when redemptions occur, it's a critical part of the protocol, and trying to keep the stable coin, get it up to that peg, right? And if you're concerned about redemptions, well, just understand that when that happens, you may have opportunities to buy back, sometimes at a cheaper price. So, it's about paying attention to where you are in the protocol and where you are in the market, and managing those risks appropriately.
And talking about redemptions, they've been on for a week now. And Jesse, I think you've got some observations about those, right?
Yeah, so redemptions are one of the most misunderstood pieces of all this. First off, redemptions are not always a bad thing. Somebody's coming in and they're paying off a portion or all of your loan for you, and they're taking an equivalent value of PulseX away from your vault, dollar for dollar. So you have that much less debt, but you also have that much less PulseX. And you have that much stable coins you've already minted. So it's literally a wash. You can go buy back your PulseX. And now if the markets are going up really fast, maybe you can't buy back as much PulseX. If the markets are sideways, you can. If the markets are going down, you can buy back more PulseX than you started. So there's always that risk. Now, people have heard us harp about redemptions so much over the past few weeks that I believe that everybody thinks that that's how you need to get out. There's a fee that comes along with a redemption. The fee floats based on the volume. We've seen the fee around 5% at times. Nobody likes to pay a 5% fee. Now, remember, the DEXs usually have a fee of like 0.3 or even less, depending on where you go. Why would you pay a 5% fee when you could just go to a DEX and swap? Look, if you want to get PulseX for your PXDC, go to something like app.Pateus. Go to Pateus, put in your tokens, and watch how much it's going to give you. Compare that to a redemption, and you'll likely get more from just swapping. Oh, yeah. Okay? So also cutting back on redemptions while they're important, we need to have redemptions. Cutting back on it's also important because the borrowing fee goes up when redemption fee goes up. The peg is always it's very closely correlated to the redemption fee. So if the fee was 2%, you'd see a peg of 98 cents, for example. Everybody's using these redemptions and you don't have to, and you're losing money by doing them all the time. Go attempt swap somewhere like on Pateas, and you will literally get a better rate.
Also, there's other reasons to buy up PXDC when it's below its peg, right? So we want PXDC to be around $1, but it's always going to vacillate a little bit above and below, right? When it's over, that's when you want to mint, because you're minting at a discount, and you can then take that extra value and swap for something else through Pateas or some other aggregator to actually get that extra value out, right? So you're kind of arbitraging the market in a sense. When it's under, right? Yes, there are redemptions, but there's other options as well. Now, if you have a loan, consider this. If PXDC is at 98 cents and you buy a certain amount of it to maybe pay down your loan, you just paid your loan at a discount. You saved yourself some money because you didn't have to put as much capital in to get the number of tokens that you needed to pay that down or bring up your collateralization ratio. It's the same thing with the stability pool. If you want to be able to get those tokens and put in the stability pool, you're getting them at a discount. You don't have to turn around and go sell them. You don't have to go turn around and redeem them necessarily. Pay attention to the fees and understand there are other ways to put this to use, and for you to take that discount and to earn something from it where you didn't have to necessarily go and pay top dollar or even a premium for it. So get creative and really look at all your options, because there's a lot of things that you can do there.
Well, that's the good thing about DeFi. There are so many different ways to skin a cat. And like Jesse said, even just jumping over to Pateas or PulseX and just checking the rate versus redeeming, you could be quite surprised that you can get more on the DEX. So yeah, that's just a tip for everyone watching. Talking about many ways to do things in DeFi, obviously, PowerCity, we're live now with the core, with Earn, with PortalX. All these things are going to be feeding fees to certain people that want to stake. Maybe we could talk more about that.
Sure. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, so there's just so many ways to stake. So you've got the stability pool, which essentially you stake stable coins and you get an emission of Earn tokens. Cool. Do what you want with those. But those are like, some people have called them money printers, because you park those and that's the only way to earn the fees. You can also earn some fees in the core, but if you go direct to Earn protocol with the Earn tokens, you stake those, and that's how you earn all the fees. Whenever somebody mints, you're going to get some stable coins. Whenever somebody redeems, you're going to get some PulseX. So there's two ways to stake. There's actually more, because you can stake LP tokens as well. So if you go liquidity provide on PulseX and bring back those LP tokens to this app, you can stake those as well for an emission of Earn tokens, which are the money printers, so you can go stake for the fees. It's all about collecting and trying to get the biggest fee, the biggest share of the fee pool possible. You can also do that over in the core. LV, talk about the core and the staking mechanisms over there.
Sure. So PowerCity Core is the central component that everything feeds into, right? And this is where you have the opportunity, if you're participating in multiple protocols, to benefit from everything in our ecosystem. And if you're using the individual protocols, maybe even get yield from both places, because a portion of Earn is set aside for the PowerCity Core. So when you stake your Watt token, or if you stake the Watt Pulse liquidity pool tokens from PulseX, you can then earn a share of the staking rewards pool. And if you look at the diagram here of the ecosystem that we've mapped out, and this is just where we're starting here, right? We already have PortalX, we already have Earn, right? Next up is coming Amplifier. We have Amplifier for Earn, Amplifier for liquid loans that we'll have. There's Pixel Park that we've been, in testing and tweaking. We're going into audit really soon, right? So we have all these things coming together that actually feed their fees into the PowerCity core, right? So that staking rewards pool is now going to have fees collected from all of these tools into one place. So when you stake your watt, you're getting a share of that. Now, if you're also earning, like putting your PulseX to work and earn, you could earn fees from there too. So you might be earning fees from Earn protocol in two places if you're participating both places. So if we look at PowerCity Core, if you staked your watt tokens, right, then we have collected, and there's a page on called Collector on the PowerCity Core where anybody can run the process to gather fees up from all the apps in the ecosystem and distribute them to stakers, right? This is where you actually say, oh, hey, there's fees pending. So here you can see there's 441,000 PulseX that are pending that can be collected and distributed to the staking rewards pool. Anybody can click that button at any time. And then when you go to your stake tab and click on your rewards for your stake, you will see your share of those rewards and be able to claim them to your wallet, right? So this central component here is just getting started, right? So I think over the course of 3 weeks of Earn, and then since we did launched or distributed, we distributed the Portal X fees when Earn launched. So basically, over the course of 3 weeks, $173,000 worth of fees have been fed through to the Watt stakers, right? 2 protocols. So you can see where this is going, right? And if it's just a matter of obtaining Watt token, you can do that on PulseX, or you can provide a liquidity for a Watt. And we have what's called a zapper function on our utilities tab that allows you to put Pulse in and automatically zap that into the liquidity pool 50-50. It does it all for you and adds that to liquidity. So then you can stake your PLP tokens. When you stake in the core, we have an internal calculation into what is called amps. Okay, so based on the value that you're staking at that time, watt value or the value of the liquidity pool tokens that are being staked, we then calculate an amp share. Amp share determines how much of that staking rewards pool the stake can earn, right? So if I have enough amps that's like 1% of the pool, then whenever we distribute or collect those fees, I get 1% of whatever flows through to stakers, right? That amp share, though, is variable, and it's based on the value that you're staking at any given point in time. And it's also reactive to how much watt is available in the system or already staked in the system. The more watt that's staked at any point in time, the harder it is to get those amp shares because they become more expensive. Think of amp as a bonding curve with a line that goes like this, right? So it just goes straight up into the right, in the sense that as more watt is staked, the cost of buying more amp share is more expensive. People coming after you who claim to stake have to spend that much more money to get an equal share of the pool and have to buy that much more watt token to get an equal share of the pool. And then if for some reason over time people unstake and they're exiting the system, as that goes down, amps become cheaper and more affordable. And then at some point, there's that equilibrium where the APR that the system is earning per amp share versus the cost of buying new amp share kind of normalizes, right? So as the APR goes up, well, those amps really become more desirable. So I want to stake more watt. I want to go buy another NFT and merge it into my NFT because I want to be able to have a larger share. You can do all of that, right? So we allow merging NFTs. These stakes are represented as NFTs as a receipt token in your wallet. That NFT can be traded. You can send it to another wallet. You can sell it to somebody, right? And think about it. The NFT has really cool artwork, first of all, like awesome artwork. The guy spent a lot of time coming up with series. Like there's 12 series of 12 images, right? So 12 tiers of 12 images, unique images based on the amount of watt and the amp share that you have, for your stake, right? And So there's this whole new level or additional level of gamification in a sense of, hey, maybe I want to merge because I want to get that higher tier and I want to be able to get that unique image that nobody else has, so that when I go to sell this on an NFT marketplace like Pixel Park coming soon, that, hey, maybe I'll get a higher price because of its uniqueness, not just the value that it represents in the system and the yield that it can earn, but also the uniqueness of the stake. So there's a lot of angles to play in the system. And, as Jesse walked us through with Earn, is the same thing with Core. You're going to see this throughout our entire ecosystem. It's all about having a lot of different ways to play the game. You can participate however you want, and you can be as deep into it or as, just, on the side. You get to decide how much you want to do here, but you can do some really, really cool stuff, linking things together, taking your yield from Earn, buying more watt to stake over there, taking that yield, putting in other places, so on and so forth, right? Let's just go through an example. If I have a vault and Earn, and I also have a stake in Core, and I'm earning PulseX tokens on my stake, well, I could be taking those PulseX that I'm earning in the Core and use that to raise my collateral ratio in my vault and Earn. That allows me to take additional loans or to be safer, so I don't have to worry about liquidation, et cetera, right? So you see the synergy between these things and the creative things that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, not only is there a multitude of ways to, use the system and make yield, but also the simplicity and the flexibility of it, right? So you have like the Zapper, where you can literally go in there and become an LP in seconds in a few clicks, take those PLP tokens, which, by the way, you get a 1.5 X bonus on your AMP shares there, and then stake those straight away. And then, like you said, LV, about the NFT, you got cool artwork, and then you could sell that or send it to another address. So you have all this flexibility with it as well. You're not locked in. It's not like, and also I think with the NFT as well, you don't even need to unstake. You could have pending rewards, and you could still transfer that as well.
Yeah, the rewards travel with the stake.
Yeah.
Got a question here.
You could have a stake that at face value, the watt inside may be trading on the market for like $1,000, but maybe there's another $200 worth of rewards sitting inside of it, and it's maybe stake number 10 or something, and people want that low number stake because it's got a big AMP share rate and it's got a cool picture or whatever. So while at face value the watt might be worth 500. Who's to say you can't put it up on a marketplace for, or excuse me, 1,000? Who's to say you can't sell it for $2,000 on a secondary marketplace? We
got a question here, and I think this guy's a bit confused about staking with the Zapper. The Zapper isn't for staking; it's a way to liquidity provide, which is going to zap your PLS into half of the watt and PLS pair, and then you take that PLP LP token and then you stake that in the Core. But there's multiple videos on our YouTube that we can share for that. Or if you have any questions, jump into the Telegram and just ask some of our admins.
And if you want to see what the AMP share calculation would be before you actually go through the Zapper process, what you can do is when you go onto the Core, there's a widget in the top right about like new stake. And there's two tabs on that. The first one is just staking watt. But if you click on the other one, staking PLP, and you can put in a number there, and that will calculate what the AMP share rate is right now based on the amount of PLP tokens you would be staking, right? Now, the hard part is just trying to figure out how many PLP tokens you would get for, in your example, 5 million pulse that you zapped. I'm not sure what that calculation would be. But you can also try doing the equivalent in watt, the dollar equivalent in watt, and see what the AMP share would be for that, and then multiply that by 1.5 gives you an approximation of what you might be looking at. So the nice thing is the system gives you a chance to model it before you actually have to go and do it.
Fantastic. We've also got a question on the Amplifier, the custom front end for Earn and liquid loans. Maybe we could talk a bit more about that, LV.
Sure. So I know we've been saying like Amplifiers, all but done, right? So we definitely have been busy with Earn and just wrapping up the last few things with Earn. We are getting our final version of Amplifier for liquid loans for testing tomorrow, and that should address the last few issues that we had identified. As we have always said, no system will come to market until it is ready. And it is critical for us to make sure that Amplifier truly is ready and goes through, the ringer in our testing here. So we've spent a lot of time on it, and we think it's going to add a lot of value, because those, folks who've been actively using Earn, right? If you're going in there and you have a vault and you're in the stability pool and you're staking and you're constantly trying to compound your rewards from the stability pool into the staking pool and yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's a lot of transactions that you're doing every day, and you're having to come back every day to do this, right? So that adds up, and that's it. Your time is precious, and the whole point of Amplifier is to try to make that easy, where instead of doing 5 or 6 transactions, depending on how complex you're trying to compound your work and Earn, it'll make it all one transaction. So nice. I can take a new loan. I can compound or claim my rewards from the stability pool, take the proceeds of the loan, add it to the stability pool, take the rewards from the stability pool, add that, stake that into the staking pool, and yada, 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 all in one transaction. One click, done. I don't have to sit here all day figuring this stuff out. So.
It's so nice, because for those of you playing with Earn Protocol, there's so many clicks. You got to claim, you got to, it gets in your wallet. Then you got to go over to the other place. Now you have to do a spending approval. You got to wait for that to clear. That's 10 seconds, then, or more. Then you got to put it in that other pool, and you have multiple tokens. So you're trying to move around. You can predefine all this, and in one single click, just come in how much often as you want. Click one button. 10 seconds later, it did all of that for you. You walk away, go enjoy your time with your family. It's so nice. I think you all are really going to enjoy it.
And that's going to be for Earn and liquid loans. So anyone who's either using any of those protocols, they can run the same strategies on both of them.
Yeah, not sure if we want to launch both at the same time. We are trying to get these done as quickly as possible, but we also need to just manage things on the team side, make sure that once we get one up and running, it's all working good, then bring the other, and so on and so forth. So it is one of the challenges of juggling multiple priorities and multiple projects, and that's why we've been so busy behind the scenes. But I would say it's very, very close.
We've also got, Portal X, our first DApp out, which is obviously also feeding, feeds into the core every time someone uses it. And I think a lot of people, even though you can swap between over 60 blockchains, if you're big on Pulse Chain, like most people watching this stream are, and we are, that there's, it's helping buy up Pulse every time, right?
Yeah. So on 60 different chains, you've got people swapping across. We've seen activity of wallets, and those wallets don't even participate in Pulse Chain. How they heard about us, I have no idea, but it's interesting. There's people that are using Portal X, and every time they interact on any of these different chains going across or doing swaps, those tokens end up buying Pulse. The fee from those swaps ends up buying Pulse, and then funneling into that same collector contract you saw in the core, where you can come in, click collect, distributes those to all the core stakers, and those people now have Pulse. So it's neat. And it's only going to get better. We're constantly evolving this protocol. We're doing something in the works now to make on-chain Pulse Chain swaps a little bit better. Stay tuned for that in the coming weeks. We're constantly evolving this thing.
Yeah, we know on-chain swaps specifically for Pulse Chain have been in maintenance mode for a while. That's because what Jesse was saying, we're working on something. I think everyone's going to really like what we end up with and what they're able to do when it's all said and done. Always trying to find ways to integrate with other things on chain, right? But we are working with multiple service providers on this, right? So remember that Portal X is a aggregator. It's a smart router. We don't actually host any of the liquidity. We don't actually run any of the dexes. We don't run any of the bridges, right? So it's always something to keep in mind that it is just basically connecting you with all the underlying services and trying to give you an easy way to get to the best route between A and B, right? So
it will use the official Pulse bridge as well, right? So for example, start on Ethereum. And if you want to go to Pulse Chain, so go to wrapped ETH on Pulse Chain, select your token as wrapped ETH, for example.
Yeah, if you do wrapped ETH from Ethereum,
there it is.
It should give you
wrapped ETH from Ethereum, third one down.
Matt, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Wrapped ETH from Ethereum to
correct. So if you search for WETH, no, from on Pulse Chain,
okay,
you want to search for for WETH, but you want the one that specifically has the label or description that's called wrapped ETH from Ethereum. That's the one that's been bridged over. The other one's the forked one. So this one is how you then would be able to bridge over using the Pulse Chain bridge.
All right. So see how that populated the official Pulse Ramp bridge. So instead of you having to figure out what the latest IPFS link is, and that's constantly changing, you can come here and it's gonna use those contracts. It's gonna identify those contracts for you. You can interact directly with Richard's bridge right here. Infinite liquidity, by the way. Some people complain, well, if I select change now, I can't really do more than $2,000 at a time before the slippage gets bad. Well, we don't host the liquidity, so it's like, I'm sorry, different bridges have different requirements and different risks that they want to take with different chains and stuff. But you can use the official bridge when you select from Ethereum and you go to Pulse Chain with the wrapped version that Pulse Chain would have. You can do the same with DAI. So if you're on Ethereum DAI and you were to select Pulse Chain wrapped DAI from Ethereum, it would do the same thing. It would identify the official Pulse Chain bridge, and you can select that and go right through it using Portal X. Awesome. I don't think a lot of people have figured that part out yet.
Also, talking about updates and what's coming, we talked about NFTs earlier and how people can swap those core stakes and what's not. But we also have Pixel Park, which a lot of people know is coming down the pipe. How's things going with that so far?
Yeah, so we are in our multiple rounds of testing for what we call our MVP, minimum viable product, right? So we have our actually, it's a lot of functionality. So it's the core marketplace component, but it includes an excellent front end that is really a joy to navigate through. And really, this is hats off to Toshi Flo, who's here in the chat, doing a lot of the analysis and design work on that. I think you're going to see that, it's just, heads above what else you see on chain, in capability and just the ease of navigation and it's hard to explain, but I've gone through the various different marketplaces on chain, and a lot of them, they rush to market, and I get it. Like, they got there first, and they're already generating fees. That's awesome for them, right? And there's a place for everybody on chain. But we are building the premier marketplace for Pulse Chain, and it is the marketplace the Pulse Chain deserves, in my opinion. And we have a multitude of different ways, functionality for different types of auctions, capabilities around offers and so on. I don't want to reveal everything here. We don't want to get into all the details because we're not ready yet. But let's just say that we are in the depths of really testing, inside and out. We're also going to audit very soon. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see, in the relative near future, a public test net not too far out. Now, when I say that, just understand the order of things. We just got earn out. We really want to get those amplifiers up and running, right? Because people really need that for earn and for liquid loans. Liquid loans has made some changes recently to improve their pricing feeds. So I hope people have noticed that redemptions over there are much less of an issue. So we're going to see adoption of their platform rise again. These amplifier systems will be a huge win for people who use earn and liquid loans on a regular basis, right? So we want to get those out to market, and then hopefully, once we have the audit done for Pixel Park, we'll be able to get that out there as well. So we have a roadmap. We're working down it. I wish it was faster. We always wish it was faster, right? These things always take time, but if it's worth doing, it's worth doing it right. And we're going to work our butts off to make sure it's done right.
And as you can see from the graphic on screen, Amplifier and Pixel Park will be feeding fees to the core, as everything does in the POWERCITY ecosystem. So if you're staking, even if you're not participating in any of the protocols themselves, if you're staking in the core, then you're getting a percentage of those fees.
We've also said that we're never going to stop building. So the things that you see here, Portal X, Earn, Amplifier, Pixel Park, Accelerator, that might not be it, right? There may be things after this that were already in the works. There may be things in the middle of all this that are in the works that we haven't shared yet.
So yeah, we've got 3 out, 2 to come, and possibly more in the future. So stay tuned, guys.
And that's the joy of what I was trying to say is, if you look at the yield in the core now, this is 3 weeks in, 3 weeks and 2 systems, right? Imagine 6, 7, 8 systems all generating fees for those watt stakers, right? So those people who have been patient, who have waited, right? Who've been able to delay their gratification, right? Which has always been the whole message around Hex and this whole ecosystem, right? The payoff will be down the road when all this starts to come to fruition, right? So more systems means more fees. We as a community, though, need to drive adoption to these systems to get people to use them to be able to generate all those fees, right? And if you look, the fees are all very modest, right? These are not designed to gouge people. I think Portal X has the lowest fee of any of the competitors out there right now. So if you look at comparing it to a lot of other aggregator services, it's extremely competitive fee. So, we're not, when we talk about all this revenue, we're not looking to gouge everybody who uses these systems, right? But all these systems, they cost something to run, and it should charge something. So the folks in the core are the ones who benefit, and the ones who stay in the core will continue to benefit. Those who are ejecting, well, that's their right, and they have every choice to do that, right? It's their tokens, their stake. They can do whatever they want. People who claimed and then eject and sell their watt tokens, the only thing is their 2x bonus that they got from claiming for their stake, they got a larger share of the staking rewards pool. Well, when they unstake, they lose that bonus, and that bonus can never be obtained again. So I anticipate over time, as some amount of claimed stakes, Genesis stakes, as Jesse likes to call them, are unstaked over time. If people decide to unwind and sell their tokens, that is only going to bring down the total number of amps staked in the staking rewards pool, which then means everybody as a result gets a higher share. Because if basically it's your amps for your stake divided by all of the amps for all stakes. And if you're removing those by people unstaking and selling or ejecting or whatever, that's just raising everybody else up. So again, these are all systems designed to balance themselves out as the market figures out what it values most. And as more and more starts flowing into the core, that what could potentially be very valuable in the future.
There are now, I think, probably thousands of tokens. Certainly, at least many hundreds of various tokens on Pulse Chain now. Many of these things will come and go. right? So you'll see whether it be a meme or it be, a tax token or something that doesn't have much utility. You'll see things that last for a few days and then people exit because there's something new, because there's no utility. You'll see some things last longer than others, but eventually, if it has no utility, people move on to the next thing. Fundamentally, we believe that you first build a service, whether it's a way for people to take loans, because we know that people will always take loans. People will always want to lend against their thing, right? Or you build a aggregator that's going to find them the best swap rates across different chains, right? Or you build them an auto compounder because it makes their life easier, so they don't have to click buttons all day long. You build them these tools, and now you set yourself up for multi-cycle success. And all you do is charge a fee on those things that people are always going to use. Now you have something that has utility, that always brings people back, that's always feeding fees to the believers, the stakers in the core. The community owns the protocol, and you really established yourself as a revenue over inflation, a revenue over meme, a revenue over this. You can certainly get gains elsewhere. I'm not saying that fee-based systems are always that sexy, that they're always that exciting. Right now they are an earn. People are reporting back that they're making really good gains from the fees in the staking pool, for example. Now compare that to something that you jump in and you're the first guy in and you get a 10,000x. You have to remember those other tokens that may go up a lot and then they go down very fast. For every one guy that makes a lot of money, there's many, many, many other people that lost a lot of money that gave their money to that guy. Now, I don't necessarily like that game because the majority of people get wrecked. A handful of people get rich, the majority of people get wrecked. But with these systems, with these tools and services that people just continuously come back and use, and you just simply charge a fee and feed that to the community, that lasts forever. And that's where we stand. That's what we believe in.
Talking about opportunity. Oh, sorry, LV, go for it.
No, sorry, Matt. I was just going related to, I'm a huge fan of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. And part of financial independence is not just saving a bunch of money and being really frugal, right? That's not the only way to become financially independent. One major way, and you see this with big money in throughout the world, is investing in income producing or yielding assets. And what's the number one yielding asset in the world? Land, property, right? So people invest in real estate because it generates income, and that it will always pay them income forever, income that always adjusts up with inflation. And that value of that property will go up with inflation. And then many times in your tax jurisdiction, you might be able to depreciate it and take other benefits against it, right? Now, we don't have the exact equivalent in crypto, but think about this, right? If you are trying to set up yourself for legacy wealth, if you're trying to set up yourself up to grow over time, you want your tokens, you want your bags to work for you, right? You want that yield. You want to find the yield where it is. Do you want to keep gambling and pulling the lever on the slot machine? Sure, you can do that. You never know what you're going to get, right? You're spinning the wheel of chance. Maybe a meme hits. Awesome. Maybe it doesn't. Then what? So it's just a matter of managing your risk and understanding okay, maybe you set aside a small bag to go chase memes. Maybe you put a good portion of your bag into things that are going to generate revenue for you. And there's a lot of actually really serious DeFi going on that's building up on Pulse Chain, around that itself. And doing that with stable coins is a great way of taking a lot of risk out of that equation. So if you are not wanting to chase appreciation and be the person left holding the bag when it comes to the price chart going down. Well, if you're providing liquidity with just stable coins on PHUX, like we have the Oracle and Bridge stable pool over there with PXDC in it, and USDL and three other Bridge tokens. Well, you are all stables, yet you're making like upwards of 26% APR on liquidity providing over there, taking a lot of the risk out of it. So you don't have to worry about, am I getting liquidated, or you don't have to worry about, am I chasing this next meme? Am I getting the best NFT out of that mint, etc. Those are all great things. Don't get me wrong. And please go do them, because there's all kinds of stuff to do on Pulse Chain. But when you're looking for that yield and you want to just keep having that bag that's always going to grow over time, there are other ways to put those tokens to work so that they're always bringing more token buddies back with them, right? You don't want a lazy dollar. You want that dollar working out there with a job, bringing more buddies back every night, right? And that's what these things can do.
One strategy I've heard of is people using these stable coins to work for them, whether that's in the stability pool or even their earn tokens, putting those to work for them, or going to Fux with their stable coins. But they do like to speculate. So instead of spending their main bag and risking their initial capital that could go to zero if they buy the wrong thing, what if people took some stable coins, went to PHUX, provided some liquidity, got this currently 26% APR? That's a great rate. And that the fees that they're earning from that is what they can play with, or a portion of those fees. That's what they go play with. Free money to go play with the things they like to speculate with, as opposed to risking their initial capital and losing it all. So there's various strategies you could put in place where you could have the best of both worlds. People like to speculate. You can still speculate without putting yourself at too much risk, using DeFi protocols to do that.
Well, like LV said, you could have a portion of it, right? You could speculate with a portion of it. And to be honest, just the knowledge about this, I think, is golden, because when I first got into crypto, I'm sure like many newbies today, all they think is number go up, right? That's all they think. That's the only way they think they can make money. It's like, I buy this, hopefully I get a 5, a 10x, a 100x, a 1000x or whatever. And yeah, if you can get that, fantastic, take it all day. But if you can put your money to work for you, and you know that you're going to sleep and you're 26% in that stable and Bridge and Oracle pool is just, you're not going to find that in legacy finance. So there are so many options. And I think with all these different dApps that we're building and have built already, you can see that happening in real time. And actually talking about an opportunity that's not going to be around for long, Jesse, maybe you could talk on this. We have the LP emission over in the utilities tab on Earn that is only around and for another 39, 40 days. Is that correct?
Well, it's 60 days total, and we're, what are we, 18 days in now? 19 days?
Yeah.
Click on, there you are. So you can go liquidity provide PXDC paired to PulseX. You'll get LP tokens, which you can come back and stake here. And the current rate for that, staking those, is 14.15%. Or you can have some earn tokens, pair that to PulseX, bring those LP tokens back, stake those for 23%. Right. So this is just an incentive for you to go liquidity provide. This offsets any impermanent loss that you may experience, because it appears like it keeps bouncing back to whenever somebody sells, it likes to bounce back lately. That doesn't mean it's always going to do that, by the way, but the yields are quite good. We like to incentivize liquidity. So if you look at the core, we've got a novel way to always incentivize liquidity by allowing you to bring back your LP tokens and stake those for a bigger share of the fees. And that's like a forever liquidity incentive. Here, these incentives last 60 days. And the reason why they only last 60 days is because there's other things that end up popping up that further incentivize forever, whether that be PHUX or some other things we have in the works. We don't necessarily want to emit earn tokens out like forever for an eternity. The stability pool already does that. The stability pool to some extent is kind of half of the liquidity pool if you consider like it's kind of its own liquidity pool, the whole system. So 60 days was sufficient. And then there's other places that you can provide liquidity for further incentives. Now, future protocols we launch, we always put this in our mind. Like, how do we incentivize the community to take ownership of this so that we're not like the ones providing all the liquidity? I watched a Richard Hart video today on RH Max's X account, which is really interesting. Somebody asked if Hex could be a rug pull. And Richard's reply was, how can it be a rug pull when there's thousands of people providing liquidity? You go look at the wallets. Like, he's like, it's not one guy. Now, that's not the case for many tokens. Many tokens, you see that the team is like the only liquidity provider. Maybe there's like one or two other wallets just because they want to go dabble in it. But at any time, a team could just pull that liquidity and there's nothing left. There's nothing left for anybody. And they can lock the liquidity or do some novel things. But you don't really want that. When you launch a DeFi protocol, you want censorship resistance, you want trustlessness, you want all these things. You really want the community to take ownership of it and run it themselves so that the team can kind of just be hands off and the thing just lasts forever. So that is why incentivizing liquidity, getting the community to play around in that part of the system is super important. Right now, we have a lot of liquidity providers, like a lot. If you look at the initial liquidity that was started compared to what's out there now, it's like, wow, the community is doing like 99.99% of it all. So it's really cool.
And there's good reasons for that. Above and beyond centralization is if you ask one person to provide liquidity, they're going to max out at some point. They're going to run out of funds. If the community gets together and they all get to share a piece of that pie, they're all making fees, they're all earning a portion of those fees, you can grow so much larger as a result because we have numbers working for us, right? So we're decentralized and we're stronger and we can grow larger as well. Now, the other thing is even after these incentives within Earn end after 60 days for the PXDC liquidity, there's always the opportunity to vote on PHUX with your VFUX tokens. Now, you have to obtain their token and provide liquidity, et cetera. But once you lock those in there and you provide, you have the right to vote which pool can earn the PHUX token emissions, on a week-to-week basis. Every 10 days, there's a vote. And you can say, okay, I want this pool that I'm in, right? So let's say you're in the Oracle and Bridge stable pool. You want that to earn more rewards. So instead of making 26%, you want to make 35% or more. Well, we need more votes. You put more votes on that pool. Now everybody's winning together, right? This is all community driven, and we can all lift each other up in this process by also utilizing other tools within this ecosystem. How many times have we mentioned other DEXs, other aggregators, and other things in Pulse Chain? This is not just about PowerCity. We want you to use our stuff, but you can see we're using everyone else's stuff too.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. This has been great for coming on today. Anything else you want to talk on before we wrap this up?
I think we hit a lot of topics. Our Telegram's always the best place for having questions answered immediately. t.me/PowerCityIO. And Twitter, like all the latest announcements or important things that we come up with land on our Twitter, which is the same.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. And yeah, we'll have to do this again soon.
Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thanks.
And guys, if you want to make yield 24/7 with PowerCity dApps, check out the Earn protocol and the core. The links are below in the description box. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.